What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim live in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin back to talk a little Packers this evening as the Packers have landed in Brazil. Seen that earlier coming across the wire, so they made it safe and sound down there. I think the plan was to do a walkthrough tomorrow, right, at the stadium, and then obviously got kickoff Friday night. I'm absolutely jacked for it as we get this season going here. Hopefully we'll have Emilio in here. We'll see. He may be busy tonight. Sometimes he gets tied up, but
he's got time to tweet to us right here. You see this? God, dude.
Hey, I love it though. 2 more sleeps and we got Packer football. Let's go.
That's fair.
I like it. He jumped in there at 1:30 and posted that too. My man.
Heard it from a fan right here.
All right. Let's do this. Let's get this party kicked off right and give a shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Just click on the link in the video description. That'll send you to theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer. Go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. We appreciate them supporting the show. First things first, man, the Packers put this out, and here's what we're going to do tonight. Let me just kind of set a little expectation. We're going to cover pretty extensively Jordan Love versus Jalen Hurts, okay? We're going to talk about – we've seen the PFF grade. PFF seems to think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Jordan Love. We're going to dive into some SIS data and really kind of comp those two and see where they land, okay, as far as some of the key metrics that I personally think are important. If there's anything you guys want to hit on, we'll try to pull that up on SIS as well. But I thought that would be kind of cool to get kind of a quarterback matchup preview, if you will. So we will do that a little later in the show. And a couple other things. We got a bunch of listener questions we're going to hit on, which are awesome questions. Got one from Dane in the Patreon group. Got another one from there were several people, so we'll fire off on those as well. But before we do that, I thought this was cool. The Packers tweeted this out. I want to get your all's take on it. Green Bay Packers, 12-hour flight. Where are you sitting? Here are the seats that are available. You could sit between Jair Alexander and Carrington Valentine. You could sit with Leroy Butler and Clay Matthews. You could sit with Jordy Nelson and Donald Driver. Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. Reggie White and Preston Smith. Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary. I love Gilbert Brown and TJ Slayton. Look like they are not going to fit in those seats.
Nah, there's no in between those guys.
Romeo Dobbs and Charles Woodson. I know this is putting you guys on the spot, but I thought this was pretty cool that the Packers tweeted this out. Whichever one of you guys want to go first, man. Who would you?
I don't mind. Tim, do you know yours?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
All right.
How do you not sit next to Reggie White?
I was going to say,
we're playing that game. I'm in 3A all day.
Right.
But if we're talking current day, I'm taking seat 2E there, right between Tupac LaFleur and Jay Money. That's where I'm sitting.
That's pretty much exactly it. However, if this is a long flight and there's drinking involved, I'm going to be sitting up there at 1F next to Leroy and Clay, and we're going to be doing we're going to have some weird shots or some quarters games going on. And again, I don't think anybody's getting into 4E. It's just not an option. So they'd have the
4E doesn't exist.
No, it's covered up by space.
Once the seatbelt light goes off on the flight, then you can go over and sit on the floor and talk to those two cats. That's all you do. You're sitting in the aisle. You're not going to fit in between the Gravedigger and TJ Slayton. That's for sure, man. It was a tough question. I said, I don't know that. Like, it was tough. I think it would probably, though, it would be between Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. I just sit there with my mouth shut and take it all in. Listen to the game plan. Listen to, just the X's and O's. Oh, man, that would be absolutely awesome. Hit the chat there a little bit. Jacob, what's everybody saying in the chat, man?
Yeah, I've been pulling them up here. Let's see what Jake Shavink says. I didn't see he was there. It says 2C to talk wide receiver ball or 2E to sponge and learn. That makes sense for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I already highlighted a few of them here, but 4E. Orange just says 4E for snacks for sure.
Would you get any though? That's
the problem. You'd be, it's rationing, dude. You'd be done. And this is, I thought, a good one too. Professor Cake says we should have added BJ Raji, but he's definitely not going in 4E. That plus the whole plane's going down. It's just going to fly. It's just going to start tilting into the ocean. But man, that is actually, as far as clickbaity stuff, that's fun. That's interesting.
I thought so too. I usually don't like stuff like this, but I seen that. I was like, that'd be a fascinating little topic there, man. It's pretty cool. And again, like I think it was Jake Shavink that said about 2C, man. Talking ball with Jordy Nelson and Donald Driver, man.
That would be cool.
That would be the most mature section on the plane. Now, as far as quiet, though, I will say this, man. Charles Woodson and Romeo Dobbs is out. Charles Woodson will be there with a glass of his own wine, reading the book, and Romeo Dobbs would just be over there staring out the window. He wouldn't say.
Yeah, that's where you go if you're a complete introvert type mute sort of person.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. So, again, Packers tweeted that out. Go give your answer on Twitter there, and go to obviously it's at Packers and comment which number and letter you would sit at there. So,
ooh, here, this is the best answer yet. United Bates, he's sitting backwards in 2C. See that? You work smarter, not harder, dude.
I like that.
You're right there next to the floor. Oh, you're getting, dude.
Yeah, you're gonna get a wet willy from Carrington, though. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen, man. Some people are gonna want a wet willy. Trust me, it's not as bad as you think. Okay, calm down. All right, let's just keep it moving.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Better than a dry bill, I'll tell you that.
All right, let's move it along. So, had this come across down the pike on the old Twitterverse on X today. Brett Favre tweeted out, "I'm excited to announce I'll be doing a new show at 4th and Favre, where I'll be breaking down NFL quarterback play and other big news starting next week. I'll be taking one question from fans each week. You can follow on X, IG, and YouTube account here. So it's going to be a YouTube show, sounds like, where Brett Favre, and I think the co-host, they announced that they're David Cano, which David Cano, if I remember correctly, is the guy who's helping produce and write the book that's geared around concussion talk. And Brett's kind of leading the charge there. Obviously, it's something he's dealing with now and many other football players have dealt with. But I'm fired up for this, guys, because we get your Dan Orlovsky breakdowns. You get your Kurt Warner breakdowns. Kurt Warner's as professional as they come, as detailed as they come, right? Dan Orlovsky obviously wasn't that good of a football player at the NFL level, but extremely high FBI. There's no two ways about that. And then there's JT O'Sullivan that played for the Packers for a short bit. He's got his channel, the Quarterback School. Brett, I think, is just going to come in like the gunslinger, you know. He's going to step in there and he's going to be having fun and cutting up. And I'm sure there's going to be so many stories from his playing days. But what do you guys think about that? Y'all excited about that like I am, man? I'm fired up over it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we don't usually get a lot of this stuff from Brett. You know, this is kind of a rare thing here. So it's pretty interesting that he's going to, focus on the QB position and looks like, maybe the big stories or top headlines in the around the league or whatever. But it's going to be great. And then taking a question from the fans, which is good. I'm sure there'll be, hundreds, if not thousands of questions submitted. It's not every day you get to talk to a Hall of Famer. So make sure you check it out. I definitely want to see what Brett's got to say for sure, because again, he makes his appearances here and there, but when it comes to like podcasting or, doing media, it's not that often we get to hear from Brett Favre, the kid from the kill. So I'll be tuned in.
Go ahead, Jake.
No, I'm excited to see him. I noticed something must have been happening because in the last 4 weeks specifically, every day I'm on X and I'm like, Brett Favre's tweeting all of a sudden, and he's going pretty ham, and he's tweeting stuff like, comment below. I can tell his PR team was probably like, you better get back out there and start making a name for yourself because we got to sell this podcast. I'm happy. I know a lot of people for whatever I shouldn't say for whatever reason. Obviously, I know the reason, but people have a lot of hate towards Favre right now, and I don't like it. We don't have.
You think God never farted?
Exactly. People make mistakes. I don't even honestly understand the full context of the issue, and I've heard some angles that make it seem like whatever. I love the guy. I'll always love him. I'm going to listen to the podcast every day if I can, and he deserves to be respected and loved by Green Bay for the rest of his life. He's given us too much. I'm not turning my back on a guy like that right now. And what's funny too, I worked at a place in Skulls Rainbow Room, Chef Gannon O'Leary. I told you guys they were from Kiln, Mississippi, and I was like, was Brett Favre really like that? And they're like, oh yeah. And they're like, nobody messed with Big Irv either. We were scared poopless of that man. Like it was a wide known, like, you don't mess with the Favres.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I tell you, one of the things I like to do to pass time, especially in the off season, is just randomly top a year in the 90s, typically somewhere between, like 94 and 98, and top week 6, just a random week, Packers versus, and that's it. And go back and watch those old games of Brett slinging it around. And again, just a dude that I don't know if Green Bay returns the glory as quick if it hadn't been for that cat. And more specifically, Ron Wolf.
No.
There you go. Cheesehead Murph says, Favre's the reason I started being a Packers fan. I'll tell you, Murph, I became a Packers fan in 03, and he was a big reason I became a fan too. It's mainly the history of the Packers that drew me in. But then when I was like, this dude's never missed a game, and his teammates absolutely love him. And then it was right around the time that his father passed away, and he went out there, in
Oakland.
Just in Oakland and absolutely lit it up. And it wasn't even about Favre's performance there. It was about his teammates. Just like, hey, we got you. We're not going to let you fail tonight, man. That stuff, it's hard not to get choked up over it.
That Monday night game against the Raiders was –
my hair's standing up.
It's something of legend, because you can go back and watch the film, and still not believe your eyes. I mean, some of those throws, there's just absolutely no reason that they should have been completions.
Wesley Walls,
guys, I was going to say Wesley Walls is making OBJ type catches and stuff.
Like it was just like I said, one for the ages, and I think certainly one of the greatest performances in NFL history, certainly in Monday Night Football history, for sure.
And it just hit me that I remember it was me and my brother that watched that together too, which was just awesome memory, sitting there watching Monday Night Football together and winding down and seeing Brett. I remember when he got home from work that day, I told him, I was like, hey, man, Brett's playing tonight. And he was like, is he really? His dad died, right? I'm like, yeah. And we sat down there together, ate dinner, and watched it. It was just one of many great memories surrounded by football or around football that me and my brother had. So
that's so cool. That's awesome.
That's what it's all about, man. What it's all about. All right, let's do this. Let's hit the chat real quick. Tipper DeGreat says, I've got Rashawn, J Love, Romeo, Jay Reed, Kenny, Jair, and Josh Jacobs. Which one you suggest I wear for week 1? Woo, I love this question. Yeah. I'm going to be wearing Rashawn Gary. So I've got that one covered. So let's take that one off the list. All right, I'm repping that one for you, Tipper. Tipper DeGreat, which might be the best YouTube name here in the history of the YouTubes. So we got J Love, Romeo, Jaden Reed, Kenny Clark, Jair, and Josh Jacobs. Tim, which jersey should he sport there, man?
I'm not going to say a name. I'll just give you a clue.
Took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
There you go. So Tim says Jair Alexander. Jacob, what about you, bub?
Man, I think we got to give the new guy some love for all the hype he's been giving this team, and seemingly the confidence he's had in joining this organization. I would love to see you wear some Josh Jacobs, because it's a completely new regime, and it sounds like that he's going to be the workhorse no matter what this week. So I think that would be a good one if you represent him, and hopefully, I'm a firm believer of all that superstitious stuff. So like, if I didn't wear the right jersey, I'm like, it's on me. We lost the game because I'm an idiot, and so yeah, don't make the wrong decision. All right.
I love it. Absolutely love it, man. Yeah. So if I had to choose between those, and again, Tim, you said Jair and you said Josh Jacobs, right? Jacob, that's correct.
Yeah.
I think of the remaining, I don't think Jaden Reed's going to let you down, man. I really don't. I think Jaden Reed's going to be very involved. If they do play a lot of that too high shell, going to be a lot of throwing underneath, and Jaden Reed's your guy, And who knows? I'll tell you another route that gives quarters coverage fits. If Fangio goes with quarters predominantly, it's not a slam dunk that he will, is those deep climb routes, those crossers. Because you get everyone committed on their match assignment, and all of a sudden that dude is running butt naked through the second window of the housing projects. Let's say it like that. How about that? So, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide. What was it? What was the old saying there?
Hide your kids, hide your wife, because everybody's.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
It's not great.
There's a reason we didn't need to finish it there.
So bad it's good.
HTEORLDWNDERE. All right. with Devin White out this game, do you think Tupac LaFleur is going to dial it up in a similar way versus the Cowboys or more aggressive? So with Devin White out, how do you think they're going to attack this defense? I think their passing defense seemed to be their weakness last year. That could change, right? But going into the season, from a personnel standpoint in Philly, obviously you got the addition of the corners, but they are rookies for the most part. I would say attack through the air. Don't be shy about that. Don't be all worried about trying to commit to the run. But Devin White, when I seen he was out, I got to be real, guys. I was a little bummed out. I was like, dang, I kind of wanted him to play, man. I think he's extremely overrated. That's just me personally. Now, teams continue to pay him, so who am I to believe I'm right and they're wrong, obviously. But, Tim, you got anything to add to that question there, man?
Yeah, that's kind of how I reacted too. It's like, we're not, Devin White, we don't want to knock the guy too much, right? But I would agree. I would say it's fair to say maybe slightly overrated, especially, the past few seasons. But the second part of this question is still, perfect, right? What is Coach LaFleur how is he going to approach this game? Do you think he's going to approach it similar to the way we played against the Cowboys, or is he going to be more aggressive? Aggressive seems to be the running narrative around this team, both sides of the ball, whether we're talking, offense or defense. So I would lean that way. I would expect early and often would be the whether that's, RPO, RPR, whether it's, dagger concepts that we talked about, shot plays, mixing in the run, outside zone run. I think he's going to do his best not to be predictable, but I think we're going to attack early and often. And I'd like to see all gas, no break Matt LaFleur again. And I think we're going to get started on a good note here this Friday for sure.
I agree. What do you think, Jake?
The whole reason that, like you said, Clay, is I almost wanted him to play, but the thing, his saving grace is that he seems like he's more athletic, right? And he's quicker and he's more of like a pass coverage. I'm wondering, do you think the Packers would maybe now utilize a little more like Jets motion or the touch pass or any of that kind of elongated type stuff that goes from sideline to sideline, because maybe they got a slower dude in there? I'm just spitballing, but that'd be the only reason that I could think that he would actually impact maybe our play calling in a way. But other than that, I don't think it's that big of a deal at week one. You know what I mean?
I think that's a great point, man. When you don't have to worry about his speed, maybe you attack a little bit horizontal there with, like you said, the touch passes and the end arounds and all that. Shout out to Andrew Petro. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Thank you so much for the super chat, bub. He says, will Jacobs have more rushing yards or receiving yards? I would definitely go rushing yards, me personally. I know there's a chance that they maybe spell him more than they want to on the running downs because he's the better receiving back, and we really don't have a second back on this team that's good at receiving. So there's a little bit of that in me that says, all right, maybe they'll use him more on third down situations and in passing situations as opposed to just that bell cow back all night. But like Jacob pointed out, with everybody kind of banged up, my money would be on rushing yards. Jacob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. I'd be pumped if he breaks off like some swing pass at like the 5 and takes it for 95. Then cool. That's great. Chalk that, put that. Yeah, I'll take that all day long. But realistically, if I had to bet, it's definitely going rushing yards.
Got it. What about you, Tim? You agree, man?
I would agree. And I think that type of scenario is probably the only way he has more receiving yards, right? You catch that ball in the flat and you just, break off a huge explosive play and, you're at 85, 95 receiving yards really quick. And then you end up rushing for, 80 yards or something, who knows? But my money's on more rushing yards for sure. I hope we do a healthy dose of him carrying the football. That's going to pace our offense really well. It's going to set up the play action. It's going to set up the things that we're known for running. And, we got to run the ball, whether it's Jacobs or Emmanuel Wilson, honestly.
Yeah. And with what you said there with the play action, when you're playing quarters coverage and you're playing match, when you play action, we talk about, and we actually got a listener question we're going to get on tonight. We talked about when you're playing a quarters coverage, you want to walk those quarters out and be able to attack underneath it. Well, playing play action, then guess what happens? You pull those backers up on the play action, you're walking the deep safeties out and the corners out on the match, and now you've got your cross or your digs at that mid-level that Jordan Love just made a living off of last year. You may break out a little more wrap concept as well off the play action. You could do that if you go like with a Dubs look, slot left. You could go play action, curl with a dig on the backside, get the backer to pull up and open up that window. But So, Andrew, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you, man. All right. Any other ones? Actually, let's start back here at the top real quick. Jacob and hit them. Drew D says, I got some wings for PTA today. Let's go. I have never had Wingstop.
Nope, me neither. I don't know.
Tim, you have Wingstop?
No, never had it.
I need to try it, man, because there's a lot of people talking. Have you guys seen that video that went viral of that girl going absolutely off, and they put like a rock theme music behind it? She said, all I want is Wingstop.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
So it's got to be good. If Drew's eating it, then hey, I trust Drew, man. Good to see you in here, bud. Appreciate you. Prince in the chat said 48 hours. 48 hours. Got to find a way to pass the next 48 hours. I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing, man. I'm going to be digging into tape. Here's what you can do. If you're looking for something to do and you've got access to it, like if you've got NFL Plus Premium or whatever, go back and watch the Eagles' last couple games and do the TV copy where you can get in an hour and a half. You can watch every snap from the Eagles' the last two games, whatever. Maybe it'll kind of give you a good refresher. Okay, here's what they were bad at when they got beat out last year, right? That type of thing. That's typically what I like to do. So, or you can go back to like, I don't know, the Super Bowl year and watch them get beat in the week one of the playoffs, right? Or the wild card round of the playoffs on the road there. So that'd be fun. Watch the Packers defeat them back then. But Blake B says, I love that the world is mature enough that we can hear from Favre and Gruden again. They belong in the football world. You know, Blake, the way I see that, it's real simple. I'm here to talk about football. I follow Favre because I like football. I know I'm not going to try to criticize athletes as if they're not human beings too. Best of my knowledge, the dude hasn't served any jail time or anything. So it's like, who am I to say, all right, no, I am smarter than everyone else in the country, and this guy deserves the death penalty. Like, what are we even doing here, right? And listen, that's coming from someone who was raised on welfare. Let me make a really big point on that. Like, I remember the paper food stamps, baby. If it hadn't been for that stuff, this little tadpole head kid would have been very hungry. We were on the government cheese. We were on the food stamps. And I don't understand the people that act like they're just so devastated that this is, oh my God, I don't get it. I don't. Yeah. There are so many people. What amazes me is they don't even blame the politicians. It's like the politicians don't exist. Brett Favre's just evil. It's like, yeah. Anyway, we shouldn't even be talking about it, but I agree with you, Blake. Again, I'm a Christian. I'm taught you're supposed to forgive. Believe me, I struggle with that, but I hope nobody goes digging through my closet. There's plenty of skeletons there. That's why I try not to judge people and hold stuff against them in that regard.
Well said.
Not me. I'm squeaky clean. Don't look. Please don't look.
Yeah. Right.
Professor Cakes.
Sorry.
That's all right, man. Professor Cake says he was 22 of 30 with 399 passing yards and 4 touchdowns with a QB rating of 154.9. It's just
that's probably the best game he ever played, right? I mean, like numbers wise, right? Do we have better numbers from Brett?
Maybe the chat can check it out as far as rating. Yeah, maybe see if there's any more.
I mean, he didn't throw a pick, guys.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Greg Rice says, I love it that Donald Driver, what's it say? Donald Driver
told all the wide receivers
that, quote, we catch everything he throws.
And they did.
Right. I do remember them talking about that. And
that's what you were saying, Clayton, man. They all stepped up for him. That team stepped up for him that night.
Yeah. They said he addressed the team before the game, and they said he completely broke down and was just, like, yeah, you go to war with someone in their time of need, that's for sure. We got Carly Ray joining us. Carly, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're just in there talking a little ball. We got a big show to get into here. We're just going through the chat real quick, getting it cleaned up. Ron Sanville says White wasn't going to start either way according to the Philly guys. Okay, there you go. All right. I'd like to know what Philly guys run. Not that you have to go check for me.
They were saying that Nakobe Dean apparently
Passed him up.
Yeah, passed him up. So
okay, cool.
That goes, to your point. That goes to your point, Clayton, right? Like we'd almost rather see Devin White on the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And the reason I said I wonder who said that's because and again I know Ron's not this doesn't apply to Ron here, but I could see Philly fans being all fired up for Devin White and then for Devin White and then all of a sudden he's injured. Well, we didn't even like him anyway. That's just you know how fans are. So Dan in the chat says, will Tucker have more yards than Luke? So many weapons. O-line is big in this game. Tucker's on the injury report. We're going to hit on that a little later in the show. So sounds like he's got a sore back. Hopefully it's nothing serious, Dan. But, for me, I would think if they were both healthy, I personally would go with Tucker Kraft over Luke simply because I think what you're going to want to do anytime somebody's playing shell coverage and you're playing that quarter look that we always talk about, the best thing to do is run them out of that. Try to get them, pull that safety into the box. So I think that kind of game plan suits Tucker Kraft more than it does Luke Musgrave if you're going to run the rock and run it consistently. I don't know if that makes sense or not, and you can get some leaks, some angles, things like that. So there you go. Boz back as a YouTube member. Boz, good to see you in there, buddy. It's been a while, man. Boz. Swinging through. I know it's awesome, dude. As soon as football season kind of cranks up, everybody comes back. I love it, man. A lot of old friends jumping back in here. Thank you for supporting the channel, pal. Andy Monday says a consistent run game shows that the offense is controlling the game before the dagger pass. Absolutely. Pull those backers up. Control the clock, too. So true, man. So true. Especially, like I said, if they're going to play quarters. So,
and if there is no Tuck Norris on Friday, then look for Ben Sims to step up in this ball game, both in the run game and the pass game.
I think he's capable of it too, man.
Yep,
I
do too.
Really do. Boz with the donation. Thank you so much, Boz, man. You're too kind, buddy. We appreciate you supporting
us. That's the best nation in the world. Donation.
Yeah. you supported us since day one, man. You and Murph and Eric Sutherland. That's three, and I know there's a bunch of others too, but those are three that really come to mind first when we first launched the channel. You guys were in here from the beginning. So. All right, let's get into some Patreon questions. And Carly, as always, you just cut us off if you've got a comment, a question. I don't want to bug you by going, Carly, what do you think about that? And you say, I really don't.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in with something before we get to the Patreon stuff?
Yeah.
So the other night we were mentioning how Brady has his first, the first game that he's going to commentate for. And I just learned today that because he's a partial owner of the Raiders, he's going to have two big things that he is not going to be able to say is he doesn't get to be in with those coaches meetings where he gets to actually know some of the plays ahead of time, though I'm sure he has the expertise to know what they are anyway. But also he's not allowed to criticize the refs as a partial owner of a team.
That is wild, isn't it?
Like ever, or just if they're talking Raiders stuff?
Oh, in other words, it takes him to retire, become an owner for him to actually follow the rules when it comes to the refs.
Yeah, with the dinger. Oh, my God. Boom. Well, I'm telling you, you guys know I've been very vocal. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's my motto. But I'll tell you this, man, at that Tom Brady roast that Netflix put on, he had the line of the night when he said, and I can't remember the exact money, but they said that the NFL spent $10 million to come up with that was generally aware that I may have some knowledge that the footballs have been altered. He said, y'all could have just gave me the $10 million and I'd have told you I did it. I was like, that's my guy right there. I like it. But yeah, there's that will always be a talking point, man. No doubt about it. That Bill Belichick, he was just I would love to sit in on some of those meetings. Like, what can we do? Can we turn the hot water off to their locker room?
Yeah.
Anything? But
pull the fire alarm at the hotel the night before,
I am excited to hear how he does though, Carly. He's going to be calling the Browns Cowboys game, so that'll be a fun one to tune into for sure.
Yeah, it will.
I think it's cool we're playing on Friday night too, because you could just sit back on Sunday and enjoy all the games, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. We might do some kind of little watch party or something for an hour or two too. Pick a game from the NFC North if there's one left on Sunday. And because I know Sunday night is the Lions game, right, Jacob? Didn't we talk about that? Is that right?
I believe that is correct. Yep, the Rams and Lions. Oh man, that's gonna be a good game, dude. This whole weekend, it's gonna be almost sensory overload. I mean, you got tomorrow starts, and I've been jacked up today. Like I've been having weird panic attacks where I'm like, it's almost here. And then you got Friday night, you got college all day Saturday, and just like you said, Clayton, assuming things go well on Friday night, we all get to kick back with a long day of just watching carefree football. You know, hopefully we watched to see some of our rivals take a dive there. So man, it's so awesome.
Yeah, it really is. So the Bears game will be 1:00 on Sunday. I'll definitely be checking that one out. That'll be my 1:00 game for sure. So excited to see, hopefully see them fall on their face. That would be great. All right, let's get to the Patreon question here. First of all, Dane Stromstad, this wasn't a question. He just put this in the Patreon group for the show here. He said, I was watching the show talking about Trent Williams, and this popped up on my screen from Sports Center. Apparently, Rasheed Walker is as good as Trent Williams at pass block winner rate. Winky face there. So what it's showing here on the screen for those of you on the pod that can't see it, Trent Williams, 95.8% with the highest pass block win rate as a tackler. Tied at that 95.8% is Rasheed Walker. And again, this is you can look at different. That was ESPN Analytics that had that number. Okay, Brian O'Neill was third at 95.5%, and then Deion Dawkins at 93.3%. So here's the thing: Rasheed Walker isn't as good a run blocker as he is a pass blocker. But man, one thing's for sure: the Packers prioritize pass blocking, and I'm telling you, that dude can pass block. There's no doubt about it. So I'm feeling better and better about Rasheed Walker as more time goes along here. And we got Emilio.
How
many times are you going to come to my press conference late?
How many times are you going to cut me off, Matt? Wingstop is absolutely fire. Okay.
Is it really?
Mango habanero. Yep. Let me get their ranch, some of the fries.
Emilio, have you ever had any food that you didn't like? Because I swear to God.
I don't like mushrooms.
Hey. I know that's wrong.
You say you don't like mushrooms?
I don't like mushrooms.
Look at his T-shirt and say that again, Emilio.
Emilio, you're Italian, bro. You're Mexican Italian. Did they disown you?
And I mean, I guess fish I'm not about, but I will slam sushi no matter what. So I mean, like fish fries aren't for me, but I will absolutely crush some spicy tuna rolls.
You eat raw.
We're gonna give him some.
You eat
raw fish, but I won't eat like
greasy battered goodness.
Hey, is this true? Afam's calling you out. He says Emilio was on 30 for 30 days of eating fast food. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm working on getting to TikTok, just to start eating stuff. Between mowing the yards, I'm just gonna do a few food reviews.
By the way, since we're talking food and overeating, you ever heard of the show 1,000 Pound Sisters?
Yeah.
All right, so that chick's from Tennessee, right?
Is she?
Yeah, she was recently.
Of course
arrested.
she is.
She's in the clink right now. Yeah, she got.
She's in the clink.
Yeah, she had drugs in the car. So yeah. Shout out to Amy.
Was it the O?
What is it now? All they released was it was a Schedule 1 and a Schedule 4. So 1 can be anything from the old Mary J. All the way to some way more serious stuff. All right. And then the Schedule 4, it sounds like, is more of like your prescription painkiller type stuff.
Yeah,
So,
Carly, you're the expert. Why don't you break down the drugs for us, will you?
You heard it from a fan right
he
here.
pretty much. No, he nailed it on the head. He nailed it exactly. That's exactly what it is.
All right.
if you knew who my dad was, you go, that's why he knows that.
That's why.
Schedule 1 is anything illegal.
Got it. Anything illegal.
Anything that isn't used.
Even
that
Emilio.
isn't actually used.
How dare you?
Tim's on fire. That's going to be a good night, boys. All right. Scrolling down here. Dane also shared this. I don't know if y'all have seen it yet or not. It was on YouTube, Football Night in America. Packers Jordan Love and snapshots of his life via social media. He just shared that. If you guys want to go search that on YouTube, pretty cool. And then Sandy Lane Packer, a.k.a. Fractal of God, said, "Hey, Clay and the gang, I have a question as a foreign overseas fan, and it's this. I had a row with a Bears fan, which ended with him admitting that Chicago as a sports city sucked. But he threw at me the point that without the Bears' help, the Packers wouldn't exist. And I've since heard that elsewhere. Could you give your take on that part of Packers history? I'm assuming that it involves money at some point.
But before we get to that point, we have to just remind everyone.
The Bears still suck.
Exactly correct, sir.
That's correct.
So this is what they're referring to. Well, first of all, it's kind of common knowledge that Vince Lombardi coached his players to absolutely hate the Bears. And he put on this facade as if he hated Papa Bear, but they said truly behind the scenes, him and George Halas were pretty close friends. You know, he actually bought the heating grid that's under Lambeau Field from George Halas's nephew. So they had, you know, it's funny to hear the players kind of reflect back on that. But here's the story they're talking about, okay? And I pulled this from ESPN. You can get several different sources, you know, of the same story. I'll try not to bore you with my reading, but here's what it says. Okay, this was written back in 2011 by Kevin Seifert, I think is how you say it, ESPN staff writer. It says, as we discussed Sunday, in recent years, the rivalry between the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears has been intense but respectful. Why is that? David Haig, maybe is how you say that, Hoff, of the Chicago Tribune offers a theory. In 1956, Bears legend George Halas helped save the Packers in Green Bay. As Hoff recounts, Halas, talking about Papa Bear, spoke forcefully at a rally to encourage local voters to approve public funding for reconstruction of their football field. Otherwise, in a preview of what current NFL business maneuvers would become, the Packers were likely to leave Green Bay forever. Halas obviously wanted to beat the Packers twice per year, but also didn't want them to leave. And he writes, it had a, quote, soft spot for the franchise as well. He encouraged league leaders to reinstate the Packers after a 1922 scandal. That's Curly Lambeau, of course, and also recommended Vince Lombardi as their new coach in 1958. It said that Kevin Joho 80 points out it's also true that the Halas accepted a $1,500 loan from the Packers in 1932. There have been some shaky moments in the history of this rivalry, but if nothing else, Halas ensured it would live on. So basically, that was funding for Lambeau Field, and they were having a hard time getting the funding. And George Halas, they said, came up to Green Bay and actually helped rally everyone to get the support to get the new stadium. So that is true. Now, like the team historian, gosh, his name's God, it's evading me right now. What's the Packers team historian?
Cliff Crystal.
Cliff Crystal said he supported the Packers when it helped his bottom line. He kind of said that tongue in cheek because they said that whenever they played the Packers, the Bears would absolutely sell out every time. And that 1922 situation, Curly Lambeau got caught using college players, and that was illegal. So they were playing college ball, and he was paying them to play pro ball too. But that's, again, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So
it's not actually the Bears that Green Bay is a little indebted to. It's just Halas. The Bears themselves had nothing to do with it.
I like where you're going with that.
Can you go back to that screenshot? It's really nice to see the logos up there next to each other too. You know, the old storied franchises, and if you really look closely at the Bears logo, it does resemble a toilet seat in a bathroom.
It really does. Emilio got that one. Look at him over there.
The Bears still suck.
All right, so there you go. And, yeah, how come Jacob isn't in here? Emilio. I just seen that, Emilio. That's gold. Oh, it was 3 minutes ago, of course. Jacob, man.
Tell you what, the guy shows up late, talks about food, spams the chat, and all of a sudden he's a fan favorite. I tell you. He's fooling you with that American flag behind him. Like,
all right. So thanks to everybody in the Patreon group. If you'd like to hop into that wild bunch, it's a
I'm going to sign up right now. Screw this.
Oh, wow. I didn't mean to bend your arm about it.
Let me help you out here, Jacob. Look, just scan that QR code in the upper right there, sir.
Yeah, go ahead and show us how easy it is.
With your iPhone 2.
And
it's a 5.
It's a 5.
Connect to the internet, or is it Wi-Fi only?
I honestly
you got to crank it.
It's an older model.
All right, so
it's an older model. You guys know I like older stuff.
I have a feeling that Jacob is going to cause problems in that Patreon group, and if he does, Emilio, it's your fault. Okay,
Where's
sir.
Emilio? Where'd he go?
Sorry.
All right. Let's see here. Let's we might be able to go. Yeah, that'll work right.
Jacob, you cannot start problems in there. Okay, we only talk ball.
This is mature. This is grown up time, Jacob. Grown up time. All right.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's a pretty good time. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and we'll say
it's grown up
goodbye on hour 1. We'll wrap this hour up. We'll see you guys on the pod on the other side for hour 2. Appreciate y'all. All right. So now let's jump into a little Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts talk. Y'all good with that?
Yes.
Here we go.
So we already kind of talked about the PFF grades, right? And how Jalen Hurts kind of ran away. I don't want to say ran away with it, but he's definitely got a higher grade than Jordan Love. So what I did was I went to SIS. I'm going to try to get this where everybody can read it decently. And we went ahead and sorted by a minimum of 100 pass attempts. And this is for the entire league here, okay? So obviously one of the key statistics for me, one of my favorite passing statistics, I should say, is rating. So we're going to sort by rating in the NFL. And here are your leaders. Get this a little bit wider here. It's going to be tiny. I apologize. But let's see. All right, there we go. So passer rating, Brock Purdy led the way at 109.6. Dak Prescott was second at 106.4. Kirk Cousins, 104.2. Lamar Jackson, I'm sorry, I get that wrong. 103.8 for Kirk Cousins, 102.7 for Lamar Jackson. We'll do that so I don't get confused. Tua Tagovailoa, 101.1. CJ Stroud, 100.8. Okay. You climb down a little bit. Jordan Love had a rating of 96.1. All right. And below him, significantly below him at an 89.1 is Jalen Hurts. So as far as the passer rating, right, Jordan Love had the edge there. Okay. Another key statistic, in my opinion, is the accuracy. All right. Let's start with completion percentage. You're going to find on this list Jalen Hurts at 65.4% and Jordan Love at 64.2. So Jalen Hurts converted, a higher percentage of his passes than Jordan Love did. Now, when we go catchable balls, this is balls in the vicinity, right? Deemed catchable. Jake Browning, don't know who he is, but my goodness for the Bengals there, sir, 91.7, fairly accurate, right? But if you climb down here, you're going to see that Jalen Hurts was at 86.2 and Jordan Love was at 84.9. So you're already seeing this theme, right? Jordan had a better rating, but it seems like Jalen Hurts was more accurate with the football. Now, if you went second half, it'd be a different ball game. We talked about that over and over and over. But
Jordan was pushing it down the field those first half of the season. Wasn't connecting on all of them.
And we're going to try to get to that here in a second, too, as far as yards in the air. I think I can pull that up, too. But on target percentage, going down the list here, Jalen Hurts is actually towards the top. I think he's borderline top 10 here at on target percentage 75.5%. And Jordan Love on target percentage was 73.2%. So it still held true on target percentage, catchable percentage, and completion percentage. He was, significantly better than Jordan Love in that regard. Now, yards per attempt, pretty key statistic in the analytic community when it comes to quarterback play. On yards per attempt, Jalen Hurts is at 7.2, Jordan Love 7.2. It's amazing how close these two guys are, man. I mean, they played really, really similar throughout the course of the entire year last year. Touchdown percentage, no. I was going to go sack percentage. So percentage sack, look at Tommy DeVito, boys, 15.6%. We didn't get him one damn time. I'm so angry about that. So, and isn't it hilarious that Daniel Jones is second at 14.3%? From a dumpster fire. That's wild. Hey, this makes me a little bit happy right here. Now, he only played 230 snaps, right? But Ryan Tannehill was sacked 11.9% of the time. Emilio, we might see some sacks down there in Nashville, sir. But back to Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love, I'm pretty sure it was kind of towards the top. They protected him pretty darn well.
I think he's at like 4.8%, if I'm not mistaken.
Was he? Okay, so yeah, we're sorting by the wrong number here. All right, so best protected, I should say. Jordan Love, 4.8%. That was tied with Tua Tagovailoa. And then you got to go down pretty darn far, fellas. Jalen Hurts, 5.8%, a full percent more that he was sacked. Now, many people look at that and go, okay, is that because he was holding on to the ball? Is that because he was pressured? I think we've got pressure percentage over here too, which is going to be a little bit difficult. We're going to have to go a little bit wider here for y'all, and I'll read it off for you. But pressure percentage, as far as how often they were pressured as a quarterback, least amount, Jordan Love was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th at 30.8%. Only 30.8% of the time he was pressured. And you go down the list here to get to Mr. Jalen Hurts, 38.1%. What you're saying is Jalen Hurts, more accurate passer, Love higher rating, and he had significantly more pressure on him last year too. We might be able to actually get after Jalen Hurts come Friday night. So
without a Kelsey in the middle.
Yes, it's gonna. I'm telling you, man. I'm glad y'all keep pointing that out because I keep forgetting, and that he might have been the. I mean, he might have been the glue that held that whole thing together. You know, we don't.
Yeah. Did they add much? Did they add much to their O line this year?
They tried to replace him. I think they replaced him with the center that Jason Kelsey actually helped them pick. Like they when they were drafting 2 years ago, I remember this specifically being talked about on podcasts. The coaching staff and everybody went to Kelsey like, you're going to be the center till you retire. But we're looking to draft your replacement. When are you looking at retired? He gave them kind of a roundabout date or year, I should say, and he actually helped them scout centers to replace him. So I don't know who I don't know who that center is, but they definitely got the guy that Kelsey felt like was probably the best one in the draft that was available at the time, it sounded like. So there you go. Now, if we were to go to value, we could kind of take a look at this real quick. Let's go points earned per play. And obviously, the higher the number, the better. We zoom in here. Josh Allen led the way at 0.235, then Derek Carr, then Jordan Love at 0.218. So he was third in the league.
I think you might want to sort that. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to sort it. Yeah. He was third in the league at points earned per play at 0.218. Pretty impressive, right? And then you got to go down the list to 10th to find Jalen Hurts at 0.189. So Love is definitely a more, I don't want to say dynamic, but I don't know, man. It just seems like pushing the ball down the field. The dude makes more plays than Jalen Hurts. There's no two ways about it. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not near as mobile, not near as good a runner, that's for sure. But see you, Jacob.
See you later, guys. Got to jump.
Yeah, go knock it out, man.
Appreciate it.
He's going to do a dynasty fantasy draft tonight. So,
yeah, I'm sure. Which means he just needs a little bit more time on college football 25 to get his team back to the natty on varsity.
Actually, I think it might be this, to be honest.
How dare you?
Maybe taking a trip over to Brookview Meadows this evening. I don't know. We'll see.
But honestly, I mean, remember we talked about Jalen Hurts. He hadn't thrown an interception all preseason. I mean, does that speak to him not wanting to push the ball down the field, not wanting to put it in hard, not giving your wide receivers a chance kind of thing?
Could be, man.
I don't know.
And that might explain why A.J. Brown was so pissed off last year, right? Like they did not get along at all last year. He could have been he could have been a little bit ticked off that maybe Jalen wasn't taking enough shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could have been the case. So it's just cool to deep dive this stuff and kind of see. Now, PFF suggests he played really well. He played borderline elite, he being Jalen Hurts. So if you were looking at it from PFF's perspective, they're probably kind of hinting at like, hey, this wasn't Jalen Hurts' fault. So if you get some of that stuff buttoned up this year, maybe they'll be better off. But I'm with you, Amelia. I don't anticipate things getting better seeing that Kelsey's gone, man. That's going
to and that's right. They're trying to put Mekhi Becton, that old Jets tackle, in at guard.
Yeah.
And then you have
he's been cheeks too.
Right. Mailata, Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, the center, Mekhi Becton, and then Lane Johnson. So
absolutely. All right. So anything else you guys want to add to the Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts talk there? Again, we're going to have all week to talk about it even more. But, Carla, we haven't really gotten your take on it. You have an opinion either way on Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, and that matchup?
I'm a little worried. I think historically, at least last year, we weren't all that great against running quarterbacks. And so that's kind of what I'm nervous about. Part of me wishes Jordan Love would use his legs a little bit more, make them a little more afraid of him. But I know he has to stay within the scheme, and we don't want him getting hurt or doing anything crazy, like trying to leap over somebody or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts has more of he's just been in the league longer. He's played longer. He has more seasons under his belt. So I feel like that will benefit him in these sorts of games where Love still just hasn't seen everything that Hurts has seen, and especially with the center play. If Jason Kelsey put his stamp of approval on a center, then I'm all for it, and I think we better not underestimate him.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. So if we just go to normal stats here rather than rates, if we go passing yards, Tua Tagovailoa led the league with 4,624 yards. Jared Goff, 4,575. Dak Prescott, 4,516. Josh Allen, 4,306. Jordan Love is in a number 7 spot at 4,159. Jalen Hurts finished 14th at 3,858 yards. So that kind of surprises me a little bit that he's that much lower, because, again, when you look at the PFF grade, it's pretty impressive. Now, if you go intended air yards, so how much did they push it down the field? Here's what you were talking about, Emilio. Jordan Love was second in the league at 4,597 air yards.
Yep.
So Jalen Hurts is sixth, 4,278. So
that's our boy right here, Brian Pumper, the dude hopped in yesterday, the Eagles fan, said the complete opposite, fellas. Nick Sirianni's answer for cover 0 was the go ball. We threw deep too much.
That's what you're seeing here with intended air yards for sure. Finished 6, right? So that definitely checks out, Brian. Appreciate you swinging back through, but love the profile pic. I think of that video every time I see it. But so if he gets a chance and you can keep an eye on the chat, I want to ask him, Eagles fan, what went wrong on those deep balls? Do you feel like they were bad throws? Do you feel like they were just good coverage? The receivers weren't separating.
Under throw was a wide receiver gave up.
Yeah, I'd like to get your take on that for sure. All right, let's see here. Let's go to touchdowns on the season. Jordan Love finished second with 32 with 11 interceptions, and Jalen Hurts finished 13th with only 23 touchdowns. He had 15 interceptions. So that makes me feel a little bit better. And I don't want to drag Jalen Hurts here. It's just wild, 23 and 15, and he has such a high PFF grade. It's
pressure pick, coverage sack.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game.
Yeah, and my conservative nature is get pressure with 4. Let's put 7 in coverage. But like everybody's pointed out, when they zero blitz Jalen Hurts at the end of the year, it didn't work out. Tim, you had the best point though, man. You best believe that Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, and Jalen Hurts, they know teams are going to try that again. They're going to be prepared. So,
and I'm with you. I like the approach of let's get home with 4 if we can. Let's pepper in some LVN here in the right down and distance situations, and let's rush with 4 and get pressure. If we can keep him, I'd prefer him in the pocket, honestly. If we can just keep him in the pocket with pressure and trust our secondary, I believe that he will make a mistake and we'll capitalize.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. All right, anything else you guys want to see here before we move on to the next topic? Good?
No. Jordan Love probably top 10. I think he'd need to be a red chip at least.
Emilio, go ahead and tell them what you mean by that, bro.
That Michael Lombardi on the GM Shuffle was going through. Let me just double check the names, and he said he was talking about his blue chip, red chips for each position group, and
blue chip being, for those who don't know, blue chip being the elite, the best of the best. Red chip being that next tier, right?
Right. Yeah, just below there, but still top 10. He says so. Red chip. His grouping is Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, Matt Stafford, Justin Herbert, and Jared Goff. That is his outside the top 5 red chip group. I think Jordan Love deserves to be in there. The question is who leaves that group for Love to make that spot.
Yeah.
And I guess my rebuttal has always been C.J. Stroud. I mean, he's only done it for a year, and they give him a lot of credit for doing that. And Jordan Love had his first full year and only, quote unquote, did it for half the year, which is true. But in the end, we're just looking at the final product. At the end of the year, most of those stats, Jordan Love was still above C.J. Stroud on most of those as well.
Yeah, I think that first half is probably what Lombardi is kind of hesitant on. The first half, because guys, I know I've said it a lot, and I'm not trying to dog, but I mean, you can't. If you see it, you got to say it. That first half was bad.
Right.
It was late to the read, very inaccurate passes. That's why my jaw was on the floor the whole second half, because it's like, this is a different dude. This is a different quarterback. And if he picks up right where he left off, and there's there's people that cover the Packers that are harsh critics of the Packers, right? And I won't say any names. That's not the point to try to call them out. But when those guys were talking about how in camp Jordan Love was layering the football, a tight spiral, elite accuracy, that's when I get, okay, my ears are perked up. Now, Tim, you were there at practice. I mean, you were there for several practices this year during training camp. What did you notice about Jordan? Could you tell a significant difference from training camp last year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Timing is better. Top of the drop, the release is better, and the accuracy is better. He's almost perpetually in rhythm. Even an off-platform throw is still in rhythm. I think his footwork is catching up with, delivering the ball with your upper body. He does. He looks more crispy. I don't know. I mean, not a doctor, not a scout, but I'm telling you, watching him throw this year at camp compared to last year, you can see a noticeable difference. And I think that pick, first and 10, and you throw a pick to end your season. I think that ate away at him, and he turned that into positive fuel to grind through this and get better. And don't even take my word for it. Talk to Romeo Dobbs, talk to Christian Watson, talk to Jaden Reed, talk to Tay Wicks. These guys will all tell you that he is humming that tater this year and coming back with a vengeance. And that's why it was important for him to struggle. He had to struggle last year, guys. It's part of growing. You crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run. And Jordan had to go through that first half of last season. I mean, if he would have put up the numbers and the type of play that he had in the second half of the season, all season long, we'd be talking about a bona fide MVP candidate. So I think we might see that this year for sure. But yeah, to answer your question, Clay, yeah, definitely seen an improvement in him.
Got to crawl before you walk before you run, or in Jacob's case, you always crawl out of Brookview Meadows. You know what I'm saying? You always crawl out.
Hey,
So,
Clay,
Emilio, I have a
answer.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Carly.
Oh, I was going to say, Emilio, so like that whole chip thing, like blue chip, it's from poker, right? So blue chips, your higher value, your red chips, whatever.
Right.
So I say when I play poker, I can have as many blue or red chips as I want. So why not just throw them up here? Who says anybody has to go down? He's up with all those guys.
That's very true, because here's his blue chips, Carly. His blue chips are Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who didn't have, and Lamar Jackson. Coming in at number 5, Brock Purdy.
Okay, he's definitely up there, blue chips. I've heard people saying that he's up there with them.
So Carly, you do think Brock Purdy's a blue chip? Is that right?
No, well,
I do, and I
think he did a good job. I think he did a good job with what he had, and he showed that he could handle it.
I feel like I'm in the minority, because every time that we talk Brock Purdy, I feel like everybody's like, "No, he ain't that good," and I'm going, "Man, that dude was money." And one thing Michael Lombardi did point out, did you hear him, Emilio? He's like, how come there's nobody on the face of the earth that criticizes Kurt Warner? Kurt Warner had when everybody says Brock Purdy's got all these weapons, he's like, Kurt Warner had Isaac Bruce. He had, name them all off. Who else did he have there?
Marshall Faulk.
Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk.
Yep.
It's like he literally had 3 Hall of Famers lining up with him on offense as weapons, right? So, and that could end up being the case for Brock Purdy. But I didn't know if you were agreeing with it or disagreeing with Carl. I wanted to get your take because I couldn't remember if you'd ever answered that. But yeah, for me, it's I think Brock Purdy's a blue chip. That's just me personally. But Tim, go ahead, man. I know you were going to hit on what Brian said in the chat. I think it's real important, brother.
Yeah, we were talking about Sirianni. His answer to cover 0 was the deep ball, and you wanted to get his take on it. So he hit us back here. He said, too predictable. The only answer to cover 0 was the deep ball. What to watch for? Does Jalen target the middle of the field? Brian Johnson wanted Jalen to avoid that. Kellen Moore attacks the middle.
Got it.
So, look to that in our defensive schemes here. He also said Kellen Moore will implement more motion in the offense to help Jalen. Sirianni didn't like to motion because Phillip Rivers hated it at the time. So I get it. Makes sense. Especially this first point here, Kellen Moore likes to attack the middle of the field, right? So I would anticipate Jeff Hafley countering with a lot of middle field closed, at least pre-snap looks. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I
Yeah,
think you're right, Tim.
they play in a lot of 11 personnel for sure. Go ahead, Emilio.
I was just going to say, looking at, coming from BC, maybe some more cover one to do that. But is Jalen Hurts comfortable throwing in the middle of the field? Maybe he liked throwing in the middle more, but Sirianni didn't let him. So he was forcing him to throw out routes, fades, stuff like that. But we'll go ahead, Clayton.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And here's the thing: if they were in a lot of base looks, Tim, I would agree with you. Middle field close. But if they're going to run a lot of 11 personnel, and they ran it more than any other offense in the league last year, that could change. We've all talked about it. But if they go 11 personnel and they go dub sets where you got a 2x2 set, you want to play shell coverage to protect the middle of the field in that regard, right? But again, if you're going zero blitz and that's going to be the way we attack him, shell's that's out of the picture. You're going aggressive, cover zero. Yeah. I don't think we're going to go cover zero as often as some people think. But I understand where they're coming from because that was definitely the blueprint to beat the Eagles last year. So, it's gonna be interesting.
But it's a different team, man. It is.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Carl. What do you got?
I'm just gonna raise my hand when I got a question. This works great. So for us people that are still learning all the X's and O's, why is the deep ball the real only answer to cover zero?
Because with cover zero, what it means is there's no safeties deep. In a cover zero look, it's man coverage across the board, and everyone who doesn't have a man assignment is blitzing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's no one deep. Take your shot, right? Yeah, it's going to be a one-on-one, and if you've got time, find the guy who's open, right? If not, then you know where your shot plays are, and it's a 50-50 ball. You take your shot, right? There's a pro and con to every type of defense you run. Cover zero, the pro is you can get pressure on that quarterback quick. The con is they can hit you for an explosive.
You could get burned.
Yes, big time.
Right. But it's still, even running cover zero, you could still hit a quick slant and that could be your explosive. Oh, yeah. It doesn't have to only be a 40-yard bomb, fade shot. If you can hit that inside slant or, a quick bubble and he makes, one tackle miss or something, it's over.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is when people go to cover zero and then they don't play bump. Like you're defeating, you're giving someone 7-8 yards cushion. They're going to hammer that slant. They're going to run a little smoke route, a little bubble, and it's off to the races.
And you're trying to throw timing off too when you're in the bump. If you're running cover zero and they're on a timing route anyway, you might as well be in their face and try to throw that off.
So bump just being so close to them that you're just gonna.
Yeah, you're basically.
Is that what that means?
You've got 5 yards that you can make contact with the receiver. So the go with what we call bump and run, it's also known as press man coverage. Mm-hmm. You're actually you're taking your hands and you're stabbing them in the chest and you're trying to reroute them and make it difficult for them to release off the line of scrimmage, essentially. That's what bump and run or press man. Now, you've also got another press man that's called mirror match press man, and that's where you're showing press, ball snap. You might make a little contact, but you get in their hip pocket and you basically just mirror every move they've got. With press man, you're truly trying to reroute them. Most of the time, press man is in conjunction with coverage on the backside too. You're trying to reroute them. You play underneath technique and allow the safety help over the top to, make that a tight window to throw in. So that's why I know why a lot of defensive coordinators don't like playing press and zero coverage. But again, if you're going to play, you don't necessarily have to play press, but you better be within 3 or 4 yards of that wide receiver. They're going to do exactly what Emilio said, just a quick slant. And a slant, a drag, a sit, anything, smoke route.
And I think if my number is right, that Ja was 14th in the league last year at press man, or in man coverage opportunities. I like what Omer is saying here. That press coverage kind of caters to Ja, Stokes, and Valentine's skill set. So that's why if Hafley can teach him those habits, the techniques, I think that's really going to help.
It does now cater to Jair a little bit. Jair's been known to want to play off the line, off the man, and play with his head and his feet rather than hand fighting, which makes sense. Ja is a smaller stature quarterback. You're going up against big receivers. But I'll tell you what's interesting. You talk about the difference between camp from this year to last year. Watching Coach Williams work with Jair on playing more physical and close to the line versus seeing Coach Ansley working with Jair and the way he's planning on playing some of this press coverage or this bump and run or whatever, closer to the line than usual. I think he's combining all those attributes, and I agree with Omer's statement. Now, I think full circle, I think this does cater to Jair's game because he's added a little bit more tools to his tool belt when it comes to playing corner, and I'm convinced he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right, and again, Brian, thank you so much, man. He said we ran a lot of deep crossers and deep post routes. We went away from the slants, curls, zigs, etc. Probably see it reemerge this year, man.
Yep.
I would imagine. So, good stuff, man. Thank you for the information, but it's appreciate you swinging through. You add a lot of value to the show tonight.
Yeah. Bring your friends.
Well, yeah, we'll get Emilio. We'll get Emilio to cut you a check. He's got all the money in there. All right?
You heard it from a fan right here.
Let's do a quick injury report update real fast, and we're going to get to a listener question that's X's and O's. We'll wrap this big bear up here. So, update: Tucker Kraft is now on the injury list. Let's just go right down the line here. Edgerrin Cooper on Tuesday was listed as limited with the hip. He's listed as limited on Wednesday as well. Romeo Dobbs, hand injury, limited on both Tuesday and today. Tucker Kraft, back injury, was not listed on Tuesday, so he tweaked something in practice, I'm sure. He was limited today on the practice report, okay, or the injury report, I should say. Marshawn Lloyd, hamstring, did not participate on Tuesday. He did participate in a limited fashion on Wednesday, or at least was listed as that, okay? So why do we bring that up? Matt LaFleur mentioned this was a part of the plan, right? Him sitting out yesterday. So it sounds like he's trending in the right direction. We might see a good little dose of Marshawn Lloyd, which would be absolutely awesome. Carrington Valentine, hamstring, limited on both days. Emmanuel Wilson with the hip injury, limited on both days. So the big change there, Marshawn Lloyd returned in a limited fashion. Tucker Kraft is now limited at practice with the back. Again, the fact that he's limited, though, I don't worry too much about Tucker Kraft there. I think that was probably more precautionary than anything. Anything you guys want to add or comments on the Packers injury report there?
Yeah, just keeping in mind the highlighted part there. They didn't practice. Nobody practiced today. So limited designation is like a carryover thing. And I'm 100% co-signing what you said, Clayton. Tucker being limited with something with the back, I would fully expect him in uniform, in pads, come Friday night. It's just a matter of how much are we going to see him? How many reps are we going to see? Kind of like Marshawn Lloyd too. Hopefully we get to see him carry the football a little bit, but it's kind of a crapshoot. At least we have nobody that's ruled out already, so it looks like all these guys are going to be good to go, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. On the Eagles side, obviously, A.J. Brown, Landon Dickerson, Isaiah Rodgers, and Devin White were all listed on the practice squad as limited on Tuesday. On Wednesday, A.J. Brown and Landon Dickerson both upgraded to full participation. Isaiah Rodgers is still limited, and now Devin White did not participate. He's listed as out, so he will not play Friday night. We already kind of hit on that a little bit there. So that's your injury report for the Packers-Eagles game coming up Friday night. They're going to do a walkthrough tomorrow. We'll probably get another injury report just like the one that Tim was talking about here. Again, they did not practice today, but they try to do this for information purposes. Hey, if you did practice, would they have practiced? That's basically what it means. So there is your update on the injury report. Anything else y'all want to add to that? Any questions, comments? Then we'll move on to this listener question.
I see these hamstring things here. I just want every person on the Packers to go through what Christian Watson did with figuring out their hamstring and the weight, and just like let's just head it off, because I don't want anybody messing with this the whole rest of the year.
Yeah, hammies they're so frustrating. Tim, you remember back in the day, I'm sure you do too, Emilio. Clay Matthews, it's always a hammy, man. It drove me crazy. And I wasn't one of these guys going, suck it up. It's like, can we not do something to fix this? This sucks.
Mm-hmm. I look at hamstrings as it's a part of football. I mean, it's probably one of the more common injuries, really, across the league, is pulling that hamstring. It's just how bad are you pulling it? How quickly can you rehab it? And a pull versus a tear is a totally different ball game. I mean,
by the way, Reggie White played with a tear.
Yeah, God healed his leg. I mean, he did. That's what he said. God healed my leg, and he was able to go out there and play that Super Bowl. And but yeah, that was the Iron Man era of football there for sure. But you talk about Clay Matthews. I mean, he had hamstring issues from his last year in college, I believe. and then kind of worked back, got to the NFL here. Him and BJ Raji came to town, and Clay dealt with that hamstring his entire career, basically, and was able to play, though. Played through it, played with it, missed games here and there, but for the most part was available. So, you know, I know it's kind of a trigger word for Packer fans when we hear the hamstring, but you know, it's important to remember that it's not worth worrying about until we know there's something to worry about. If we see someone that's, you know, did not participate repeatedly and they're definitely ruled out days before a game, now you know there's an issue. But I hope these guys are good to go. I think Valentine especially will be one to keep an eye on, because that's kind of a newer designation for him. Marshawn Lloyd's been dealing with the hammy since, you know, the beginning of training camp.
Yeah. And like Brian pointed out here, one last note on the injury report. He says Devin White lost his starting job to Nakobe Dean in the preseason. I think Emilio highlighted that earlier tonight. So sounds like they were not planning on him starting anyway. Brian, that makes complete sense to me, but because I still don't understand how that dude continues to get paid, but he does, man.
Only thing I'd say to the hamstring thing is, like, they're just it's kind of like what Drew's saying here. He said it's easier to build muscle than stretch a tendon. I think sometimes they are so like muscular that we need to stretch. You know what I mean? Like I still in the morning, you got to give it the 10-minute stretch, or you're gonna be hanging over the walk behind by, you know, hour 4. So
Emilio, you dressed like my buddy Scott at the birthday party the other night.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, one of my good friends, man. I gotta say this. We had a surprise. I couldn't say it on the pod because Mandy watches the show, but we threw her a surprise birthday party downtown here in JC, and we got a nice little loft area, pretty pimp building.
Yeah, it was sweet.
So we got plenty of floor space, and we did an '80s theme party, right? So everybody dressed up like it was the '80s. So my buddy Scott messages me a couple of days before. He said, "Hey man, quick question." I said, "Talk to me." He said, "What's the most outrageous thing I can wear to this party?" And I said, Richard Simmons. And he said, "Say less." That's all he responded with. So he showed up in short shorts, tight shirt, had the wig, everything, didn't he? He came in with a couple of 1 pound dumbbells.
I think they were half a pound. They were like these hot pink half-pound dumbbells, and he was just pumping them all night long, man.
Sweating to the oldies.
Dude, Scott brings the juice, man. I'm telling you right now, if you're throwing a shindig, you get Scott out there and go, "Scott, man, pump some life into this room. He's got you. He's your man."
100%.
It was a blast. So anyway, it was so hard. It was a couple of times like, "Yeah, we're going to dinner Saturday night." That's what I kept saying on the show. But anyway, here was a question from a listener we got on the text line. Said, "Greetings from Scotland, Clayton. My name is Nicholas. I have a question if you can find time to answer. You mentioned, quote, walking out defenders in Vic Fangio's defense. What did you mean by that? Thank you for all you do, sir." And I just said, "Thanks, Nicholas." Actually, my family is traced back to Scotland. Got a lot of Scottish blood in me from the Bailey side. And, they actually I traced it all the way back to Scotland in the 1600s, which is kind of cool. They came to America in the 1600s. But anyway, thank you so much, Nicholas. I'm going to do this real quick, just a quick little easy chalk talk if we can. If I can get this to zoom in enough here. Y'all can see that pretty good, can't you?
That's pretty good.
All right, so – again, I want a disclaimer. We don't know if Fangio is going to play his traditional defense, okay? And when we say shell coverage, this is what we're talking about. You see these safeties back here, right? 2 deep set, okay? So you got a 2 deep shell look, and when you play quarters coverage, typically what happens, if you're going in a dub set, that safety will be cheating a little closer to the sideline here. If you were playing a quarter zone match coverage, what it means is if and then. If the X goes vertical, right, then this becomes man coverage with the corner, okay? And they'll have a threshold. They may say 6 yards. They may say 8 yards. They may say 10 yards. That's where it breaks off, okay? So let's say if the X runs a shallow cross here, what the corner will probably do is he'll sit in a hook zone and look to pick someone up coming out of another zone, or he might even attack the flat if the running back attacks the flat. But if this X goes vertical, that now becomes match. That's man coverage, okay? So that's what we mean by zone match coverage. Same thing with all the guys across the board. This is what we did a lot of with Joe Barry, although we showed a lot of single high look, but we were still playing zone match most of the time, all right? So if you're in the shell look, the one way to attack this is to run the freaking football. You got a hat on a hat if you run the ball, right? You got 5 offensive linemen and a tight end. You've got 6 defenders here. That leaves the running back one-on-one with someone if everybody holds their assignment. So you want to run the rock. But if we're passing in this situation, think of this being zone match. This is what I mean by walking out those defenders. If you don't run a go route here with the Z, that corner is going to be able to sit underneath and not only take away the Z, but probably play this flat here. The play that I drew up, and this is just one of many examples. I didn't show the 3 verts with the drag underneath like I had mentioned on the previous pod that I'm sure Nicholas was talking about. But if you run this play here, this is called 11 guns dub, David, Y chip, and it's actually Y arrow, but it's a chip, Z go, T angle. What that means is the David concept is a dig post, okay? Your 1 is going to run a dig anywhere from 8 to 12 yards, depending on what the coverage shows. Your slot or your number 2 on that side is going to run a post route. Now, you notice I've got more of a hybrid crosser or climb with the post there, but essentially you're accomplishing the same thing with the post route. On the other side, you got the arrow route from the Y. Notice chipping the left end and then hitting the arrow route out to the sideline. The Z is just a go play, and you got a T angle underneath. What we mean, Nicholas, when we say walking those guys out is what's probably happening on this play is if you're in a traditional zone match look, is the safety has the number 2 on the match. What that means is if this number 2 or the slot in the situation breaks that threshold of 8 yards, 7 yards, whatever their threshold is on their specific defensive call in this match play, then that means it becomes man coverage. The safety's going to pick him up, and it now becomes man coverage for the safety, okay? So in this play here, specifically, what you're doing with the slot, you're breaking that barrier. Now it's man coverage, and you're going to try to attack the post. This safety has to be ready to cover man coverage this whole half of the field and pick up this slot once he breaks that 8-yard threshold, okay? So the fact that you could run that route, bend it out a touch, and then hit him with that post, you're going to have inside leverage there. Now, that's what we mean by walking the safety out. By doing that, guess what happens? You walk that safety out. He's now man coverage. You break that threshold. Now it's man coverage with the corner. The corner has got to play it with outside over-the-top technique as well because he's broke that threshold and you got to protect deep. You hit that dig route underneath, you're off to the races. You're going to have a space right here if the will isn't in the way. Now let's hop over to the right side of the field. Same thing. You're going to be walking this zone match out with the corner to clear out for the arrow route. If and then, whatever the specific call was, this strong safety is either going to be, he's probably going to be matched up on the Y, meaning if the Y breaks the threshold, it becomes man coverage from him. The Mike will stay behind. The Mike will attack the flat too. So his if and then with the Mike will be if the Y goes to the flat, then it becomes man coverage. That's his if and then, where the strong safety's if and then is if the Y goes vert, that becomes man coverage. And now the Mike will sit in the hook. So in this specific situation, you're walking the corner out with a deep route. The Mike will now become man coverage over here. So notice the Mike will bite on the flat after he chips the left end and helps with the protection. The nickel will sit in a hook because the slot broke, and now the free safety is going to be in man coverage here. He's probably going to be trailing because he's got to play over the top outside technique. The corner will be sitting in a hook, or I'm sorry, he'll be in man coverage, but he's got to play over the top technique. So you're seeing where your hole is going to open up. If the will does not fade back, you've got this dig route absolutely wide open across the middle. How many times we've seen them hit that over the years? That's what we mean. Even though this is a post route, you're still walking that safety out because you broke the threshold and they're in match coverage, okay? Now, with this safety here, if the Y does go here, guess what happens? The safety is going to stay at home because there's no reason to bite down in here on anything else. If the safety does bite here, though, however, look what's open, your post, right? So if your post is open, it's because the safety bit down. So if that happens, again, if and then they go to the flat, the Mike stretches over, the safety buzzes down, the dig of the David concept is completely off the table, but now you've got this climb post hybrid, second window throw we talked about all year long. That becomes open. So from Jordan Love's perspective, what he's got to read here is he's dropping back. Is it match? If it is, you're literally your side adjustment, you're going to be working this side of the field right here. You're going to be looking. You're probably going to take a peek at the safety. Is he buzzing? If so, all right, I need to buy time to hit that second window of the climb route or the post. And if the safety stays at home, then I'm looking to open up this window right here. You know how you open that up? You put you stare that wheel right in the eye, and you convince him you're throwing to that T angle right there. Now, if you misread it, here's the third layer to this read. If you misread it and that wheel is in country is in spot drop and they're just playing traditional country quarters, guess what he's going to do? He's going to fade back here and cover this. You got to be quick and hammer that T angle, and you're off to the races with leverage there. So to answer your question, Nicholas, I know it's a very long-winded way of answering it. That's what we mean by walking out zone match with deep routes. I didn't want to just do the easy way out and show all verts. These guys are going to follow them. I also wanted to show where you could throw an extra wrinkle by breaking the threshold on the free safety and then clearing up that second window of the safety buzzes. So anything you want to add to that, Emilio, Tim, Carly, anybody? Questions, comments? Does that make sense? I probably sucked really bad at explaining that.
No, I thought you crushed it right there. That's exactly it. I mean, I like what reminded me of that was the one where we bring Jaden Reed in motion. If you're looking at a TV copy, he comes, up the screen and he's like almost in the wheel route, and we have the post crosser, and then he kind of just under that David, basically that dig kind of was just right underneath there. But it was a deeper dig, but wide open because both the safeties carried with the deeper man, and it's just beautiful.
Some people would say, okay, what's the difference between a David and a slot cross concept? I'll just show you. You see David here, right? Delete that. This would be slot cross. Notice the David broke out here at about the 10-yard mark. The slot cross would be more like this, right? That's the difference. So it's a true climb.
Getting out in front of that dig, though.
Yeah. Now, some people, we've talked about dagger. Matt LaFleur loves the dagger concept. I absolutely love it too. This is your dagger concept, okay? You're just going to run a go here with a dig underneath. If you run that, look at the extra window you take away. If you run that concept, right? Let me get that off there. Give me just a second. Where's my undo? Here we go. All right, so if you run that concept, the safety now picks him up in man coverage. The nickel's just going to sit here, right, in a hook zone. The wheel will probably kind of sit in a hook zone. If that's not there, you're screwed. If the safety buzzes now, guess what? You got the wheel playing sneaky, playing that hole underneath, right, kind of playing that rack coverage. You got the safety taking the second window away, and all this space out here you didn't capitalize on. That's the true value and the difference of the David concept and the slot cross. Now, here's what's crazy. They're probably not calling David. They're probably not calling slot cross. They're calling choice. And these guys have to read that on the fly. When you break that 8-yard, if you get to the 6-7 yard threshold and you feel like the free safety's got his eyes on you in match, you got to get creative with it, and the quarterback receiver's got to be on the same page. So,
would you be mad if he ran a flag right now because the safety buzzed down? Or would you rather him keep running a fade?
I'd be okay with a flag. Yeah.
Just let me get a little inside look at your numbers and fire that thing upfield.
There's a number of different ways you could attack it. And again, this was just showing kind of that Y arrow look because we've been breaking down with the RPO stuff here in Matt LaFleur's playbook and Bobby Peters' book he wrote on the whole 2023 Green Bay offense. They love that arrow route, man. They love firing that. And they'll run a slant out of the Z off of that too and create that mesh point too. But again, I think that might be key. If you do come out in a lot of 11 personnel, I think they'll play a significant amount of 12 too. They'll play more 11 than 12. But I think you got to be chipping. Remember Brandon Graham at left end? In this situation right here, you're only bringing a 4-man rush. If that's the way Philly's approaching it, then get that wide a chip, hit him on the outside shoulder, and give Zach Tom a little bit of extra help to be able to get there square up on Brandon Graham. The part that bothers me is we talked about this. If this guy right here is Jalen Carter, guess what you got? You got one-on-one with this guard right here. And that's gonna suck.
Is he your defensive keep me up at night player?
Jalen Carter, absolutely, bro.
He's the one you're worrying on the bus ride over the stadium.
He's what they refer to as your Tuesday player. That's that player that you're on Tuesday. You're sitting in Michael Lombardi. You're sitting in opposite guy. How the hell are we gonna stop this guy?
Yep.
What do we got to do to stop this guy? And the key is set the protection on him. I'll tell you the way they probably combat it. Now you're going to take this angle approach out. That might be off the table. That's how you combat it. You be ready to chip. You tell the T, listen, before you leak, I don't care. It could be, a cut. It could be a cut route, right? Whatever it is, before you get out, you make sure you get a good chunk of Jalen Carter. He's going to be there because he's going to be that guard like a drum.
And they might even walk that tee up, like to sit a yard behind the guard sort of thing.
Yep.
Right.
Go ahead, Carl.
Would that be like a role? And I know we don't really have like a fullback, really, but like a fullback or I guess a tight end those are the roles that would do that because they really want to be able to move him to get him out of their way.
Ideally, if you could convince them that fullback might be a threat to run or catch the ball, yeah, you would rather. Yeah. But see, when you put a fullback in that situation, that defense is going to go, don't worry about the run. Don't worry about him catching a pass. Because that's where Josh Jacobs is really, really tricky. Now,
really, all you got to do in that situation as the running back is just get in the way. You got to, like you're saying before that release, you got Aaron Jones was a master at that. He'd get moved over there, he would chip the defender and then roll out and catch the ball and be ready in the pass game. And I think Josh Jacobs brings that to the table too. We'll probably see a lot of it. And I think Josh Jacobs is probably a little bit more physical of a running back too. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
No block, no rock.
That's right.
I love it. That's my motto. That's like my motto now. I love it.
I love it. What another thing too, like this seems very detailed. We laid out a couple of different choice route options there. We talked about trying to read the safeties. Are they going to be buzzing? Are they not? All those things. We didn't even there's a multitude of things we didn't even highlight here. Like Matt LaFleur is not going to just play set. There's going to be cheat motion all over the place. He's going to be using the heck out of cheat motion and that quick motion look. What I used to refer to as quick. It seems like the buzzword in the league right now is cheat. So we're just going to roll with cheat motion over quick motion. So, it's not going to be this cut and dry. And some people were looking at that going, that wasn't cut and dry. These football players are smart, man. They are smart. Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else? We went way over. Tim's wife's going to kill me. I'll tell you that. She's probably going, Tim, you're no longer allowed to talk to Clay. Anything else y'all want to hit on before we get out?
Yeah, 2 more sleeps till Packer football. 1 more sleep till NFL football. Kickoff tomorrow. Mm-hmm. A little AFC championship rematch, right? Was that we got Chiefs and Ravens? So
man, it's gonna be a
football is here.
Real quick. Fun fact, so I was listening to that Ross Tucker podcast. He was talking to the VP of the NFL, and he was saying that because we're able to play on Friday, it's because it's the first week of September, and the deal they set with with high school and college, all that, it starts second week of September. So I think he said this year and next year they have that option of playing a Friday game to start the season.
Yeah, I heard that too. Actually. That was really cool.
I like that they honor that. You know what I mean? Because I got to be real with you. I'm missing my nephew's game Friday night. You know,
right? It's the lifeblood, right?
It sucks. Yeah, Mandy looked at me like, "You sleeping in the yard?" So, hope y'all enjoy the post game show. I'm gonna be cold that night.
And the Netflix Christmas games are going to be global, to Netflix subscription. So that's going to be that's kind of cool. I was wondering if the Peacock game was, but I don't think they didn't mention it like that. They did say that Netflix was going to be global.
Is that starting this year? The Christmas games are Netflix?
Yeah, or they bought them for this year. So he was just saying that because of it's a subscription service, they're able to offer it globally to people, which is, they're just trying to get out in front of everybody, obviously.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. We're out of here. Thank you all so much for taking the time to hang out with us this evening. We really appreciate it. I want to give a special shout out to Andrew Petro with the super chat. Thank you, sir. Boz becoming a member, and then of course the huge donation there. Thank you so much, Boz. Appreciate you. Everybody in the chat. So good to see everybody. Like I said, y'all make this show what it is. Thank y'all so much. We will see you tomorrow night. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? 7 p.m. Central. So we will be live right before the game. So we might go a touch early just to make sure we don't interfere with kickoff, because I know everybody wants to kind of watch that first game of the season. So it does kick off at 8 o'clock, right, guys? Am I thinking right? No, Thursday night. I got to know real quick.
8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Central. Yeah, something like that.
Look it up real fast.
We got the schedule. What am I doing? What are we doing? 8:20. Oh yeah, we're good, right?
8:20 Eastern, so 7:20 Central.
Yeah, we're not good.
You're gonna have to edit that, Clayton.
Edit D's. How about that?
Oh, that's a new job. Yeah, so those of you who don't know, that was Pack Daddy. He was making a reference on his show. It was just gold. People are like, you need to be more professional. You need to edit this out. How about you edit these? How about that?
That's great.
It's awesome. So there you go. Pack Daddy has now entered the soundboard. But yeah, so what we may do is go an hour early. I'll let you guys know because I think it would be cool to go before the game kicks off.
Yeah.
I mean, the selfish thing to do is to do a show and take a glance over while the game's going on, but I want to make sure that we're not tying up people to watch the first game of the season. So anyway, we're out. The show officially sucks right now. So we will see you tomorrow night at some
For those
time.
of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making this part of your day. As always, go out and be the change you want to see in the world.
Go Pack, go.